Hey there nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we are back with another episode of Way of the Underhive. This is a series that is dedicated to brand new players of Necromunda to help you plan out your gangs, help you out with campaign play, and also talk about the various alliances that your gangs can make. And on today's episode, we are taking a look at the possible criminal alliances you can make, and we'll be starting off with the Fallen Houses. So for those of you guys who are interested in making a criminal alliance, especially with the Fallen Houses of Necromunda, this is the video for you. We'll be talking about the positive and negative impact on campaign play we'll have with a Fallen Houses alliance. We'll also talk about the strengths and weaknesses of the Fallen Houses in terms of strategic as well as tactical assets. We'll talk about their benefits as well as their drawbacks. We'll also talk about the individual fighter that is part of the entourage, the Rebel Lord. And then finally, we will give you our overall conclusion of this criminal alliance. So with that being said, let's get this video on a roll. Alright, first of all, let's talk about the positive impact making a criminal alliance with the Fallen Houses will have on your campaign play. First of all, you have a special rule that's known as a bandit part, and pretty much gives you all the benefits of taking additional fighters in your crew, but at the same time don't receive any of the negatives of taking extra fighters either. It's a good way to balance out numbers in this scenario, because whenever you bring on members from an alliance like this, they don't take up any crew slots. So this is a nice way of bringing experienced fighters with better equipment without impacting your crews too much, and at the same time still bringing in the maximum number of fighters in a scenario. So for example, let's pretend you're playing a scenario where the number of fighters you can have is 6, for example. If you make an alliance with the Fallen Houses, for example, you can actually bring an additional fighter who is the Rebel Lord, who could really help you out in this kind of situation. And plus, all these fighters have additional skills, stats, as well as weapons and equipment that could really help you out, especially if you're kind of in a situation where you're outnumbered or outgunned in most of your scenario play. Now let's go ahead and talk about the negative impacts on campaign play when you make an alliance with the Fallen Houses. First of all, to make a criminal alliance of any sort, you have to be an outlaw gang. That is first and foremost. So for example, when we talked about the merchant guilds, in the merchant guilds you must be a law-abiding gang to make those alliances. Well, if you're an outlaw, well, this is good news for you, because some gangs automatically have an outlaw status that they can't get rid of. Gangs like Redemptionists as well as Corpse Grinder cults, for example, are gangs that can never make an alliance with the guilds because they can never become law-abiding gangs. Or in a situation, let's pretend that you were originally a law-abiding gang, but because of circumstances you became an outlaw, well, you can still make criminal alliances with this stat put on you. So because of that's one of the benefits, it's kind of the negatives on that. There's some positives if you're already an outlaw gang to begin with, but if you're a law-abiding gang and you're looking for a criminal alliance, that's the negative. You have to become an outlaw first before you can make it. At the same time, with any alliance, no matter what kind of alliance you're making, whether it's alliance with the Merchants Guild, the criminal syndicates, or even with the noble houses, your alliances can be easily broken through a couple of things. First of all, you have what we like to call guard duty. Guard duty basically limits the type and the style of scenarios you can actually play, and so because of that, if you decide not to do that, that could of course break your alliance. Another thing we have also known as tithes. Tithes are things like either resources, money, fighters, or the case may be that you have to pay your alliance every single game, in which case if you decide to ignore it, it could of course break your alliance. And at the same time, we also have drawbacks. Every single alliance has obvious benefits attached to it, but they also have some pretty extreme drawbacks and just in case. So if you plan on making a criminal alliance, you want to take a look at the positive and negatives associated with that alliance and then figure out if this is really a good choice for you. So now that we're done talking about the positive and negative impacts on play, let's go ahead and talk about the strategic and tactical assets that the Fallen Houses bring you. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the Fallen House real quick. So with Fallen Houses, we like to break up what we like to call tactical assets as well as strategic assets. Tactical assets are game mechanics that affect individuals or combat on the battlefield. So these are things that will be affecting you while you're playing your games on the tabletop. Meanwhile, strategic assets are game mechanics that impact a gang during the course of an entire campaign. So these are things that take place during the post and pre-battle sequences or over the course of a campaign as well. Now, when it comes to the Fallen Houses provide an excellent tactical asset in the form of the Rebel Lord. Your Rebel Lord is highly flexible and equipped with excellent gear, and the Rebel Lord will be an excellent addition to any gang needing additional strength, firepower, or fighting ability whatsoever. At the same time, the Fallen Houses also provide an excellent strategic asset, especially in generating income against law-abiding gangs. So for example, if you're fighting a law-abiding gang or enforcer or even gangs that are allied with the Merchants Guild, you actually get additional credits every single time you fight against these forces that can really help you generate income for your gang as well. Also, the nice thing about this is that if you're an outlaw gang, and traditionally you have a very difficult time to generate income, by making a criminal alliance with the fallen houses, it allows outlaw gangs to generate income very, very quickly, because more often than not, you'll be fighting more law-abiding gangs, and with this bonus that you get from the fallen houses, that could really help you out. And speaking of those benefits, let's go ahead and talk about those next. So the benefits of making an alliance with the Fallen Houses is a special rule called Rebellion, and pretty much how it works is if a gang wins a game against a law-abiding gang, you earn d6 times 10 additional credits on top of the rewards you normally get for that scenario. Now, if your enemy were enforcers, or if you're allied with a guild, of merchant guild of any sort, or anybody who actually has an alliance with a noble house, you actually earn 2d6 times 10 credits and +1 reputation point as well. So you can easily earn up to 200 credits as well as 1 additional reputation every single time you fight against enforcers, guild allies, or noble house allies. And if you're fighting against normal law-abiding gangs, you can earn up potentially up to 60 credits on that part as well. So because of that, this is an obviously powerful benefit of bringing a Fallen House into the fight, especially when the numerous guild and noble alliances are now available out there in campaigns now. So because of that, it's really behooves you to actually bring the Fallen House, because you can generate income very, very rapidly, especially if your enemies are bringing those kind of alliances to the battlefield as well. And another obvious benefit they bring, of course, is the Rebel Lord, but we'll talk about that fighter here in a second. Now, opposite of the benefit, we have drawbacks. Now, we have several rules that are attached to these guys when it comes to the drawbacks for the Fallen House. First of all, we have one of the rules called For the Cause, which means that you must accept a challenge from enforcers or any gang that is allied with a guild alliance or with a noble alliance. Otherwise, you have to test the alliance. So because of that, it's really difficult for you to refuse challenges from other players. So for example, this could kind of be of a drawback. Let's pretend that your opponent has a really powerful gang, and let's say they're allied with a guild or a noble house. You have to accept that challenge unless you want to risk losing the Fallen Houses alliance. So because of that, it could kind of impact you that way. Now, of course, you could look at the flip side saying that is not really a drawback, because if you manage to defeat your opponent, you do get added bonuses for credits and reputation you win, and you could fight the power to do that. But at the same time, though, it could kind of bite you if you're not careful about it. At the same time, you also have a tithe attached to this guild alliance, criminal alliance. It's called Ancient Oaths, and you must pay D3 times 10 credits every single time you get done with a scenario, or you have to test the alliance. The idea about that is supposed to be, of course, that you're paying the coffers of the Fallen House to help it ascend back to noble ranks again, and it's not really a bad trade-off, especially when you compare it to some of the rewards you get with the Rebellion perks. It's not that bad of a tithe, all things considered. So because of that, I would say these drawbacks, while they may seem kind of steep, they're actually not that bad compared to some other ones that exist out there with different criminal alliances, guild alliances, or even noble houses. So now that we're done talking about the benefits and the drawbacks, let's talk about the Rebel Lord. The Rebel Lord is the individual fighter that is sent to you in case you need to fight another gang, and this is the fighter that they give you. So for the stats for the Rebel Lord, is actually pretty good. They have 4-inch movement, 3+ weapon skill, 3+ ballistic skill. They also have 3 strength and toughness. They also have 3 wounds, 3+ initiative, and 2 attacks. They have 7+ for leadership, 6+ for cool, 6+ for willpower, as well as 6+ for intelligence. So because of that, these guys are actually really, really good. Alright, so let's go and talk about some of the equipment that these guys could also get their hands on as well. So the Rebel Lord automatically comes with 4 digilasers, which is really, really good for up close combat. And at the same time, they're already equipped with light carapace armor right off the bat. So because of that, they're really defensive already. They have some pretty good combat ability in close combat. But not only that, but you can also customize their protection as well. You can even give them a displacer field or a refractor field, which just basically gives them unstoppable protection, which is really, really good. Now, depending on your situation, what kind of scenario you're fighting, you might want to choose between the displacer field or the refractor field. For example, if you're playing in a Sector Mechanicus type battlefield where there's a lot of drops, you might not want to use a displacer field. But if you're using something like in Zone Mortalis, maybe that might be something you want to use. It's kind of up to you. At the same time, you also have a choice of what kind of weapons these characters take as well. You can choose between a pair of mastercrafted last pistols and a stiletto sword, or you can take a bolt pistol and a thunder hammer. Either choice is really, really good. It's kind of up to you what you want to do. If you're engaging more kind of like, if you're looking for more accuracy with shooting, you might want to go with the mastercrafted last pistols because you get that reroll, which is really, really nice. But the bolt pistol is also very powerful. The thunder hammer is also a wrecking ball when it comes to close combat. At the same time, the stiletto sword is really good for high toughness enemies. So like I said, it's really up to you. You really can't lose when it comes to that. Not to mention, you can also choose 2 skills for your Rebel Lord as well, and you get to choose from the agility, combat, cunning, or shooting skill sets, which is perfect for no matter what kind of situation you're facing against. So for example, let's say you want to create an ambushing character that can cause all kinds of problems by charging to your opponent and causing additional attacks. You could actually pair this guy up with an infiltrate skill for one of his cunning skills, that way you can infiltrate in. And let's say you want to use berserker charge, that way they get double the attacks. Or you could either do like a shooting type character. You can give him gunslinger for those 2 mastercrafted last pistols, for example. And let's say you give him like cunning for combat skills and make, I don't know, rain of blows, which makes it really simple actions for combat. It's really up to you how you want to do it. You can kit this guy out any way you want. And the Rebel Lord really is a one-person army, and it really shows in both the stats, the skills that they can take, as well as the equipment they have. So when it comes to using the Rebel Lord, take a look at what kind of situation you might be running into, what kind of opponents you're fighting, and equip your Lord with the weapons, equipment, armor, and skills that would best help you out in that situation. It's a very, very flexible build, and I highly recommend it. So in conclusion, the Fallen Houses actually is an excellent mid-tier criminal alliance, right? So the Syndicate's strategic assets are extremely good, especially when it comes to generating income, fighting against those law-abiding gangs, or gangs who have guild or noble house alliances. It could be nothing but just good for you for that one. At the same time, the Syndicate's technical asset is also very helpful in combat and on the battlefield as well. And so because of that, it makes it really, really good to have that alliance. Now you might be wondering, well, Commander Cheapskate, if these assets are so great, why isn't it a high-tier criminal alliance? The reason why I want to rank it as a high-tier criminal alliance is because, like I said before, you might get drawn into battles you might not be prepared for. So for example, like I said before, if you actually get challenged by either an enforcer gang or a gang with guild or noble house alliances, and let's pretend they're the most powerful gang in your campaign setting, they could actually suck you in and actually have you fight against you, and you might not be prepared for it. You might actually lose a lot of guys. So because of that, that is the only major drawback really with this. So you do have to prepare yourself in case that kind of situation happens to you. Otherwise, if nothing like that's happening to you right now, then by all means, equip the Rebel Lord, make an alliance with the Fallen Houses, and fight the power, because that's what it's all about. So there you guys have it. This is our overview of the Fallen Houses Criminal Alliance. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest, greatest hobby news related to our channel. That's good for this one, you guys. We will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out and stay classy.